Ladies and gentlemen, podcasting from Sydney, Australia. This is the Primodcast. Independent, unfiltered, and uncensored. Beginning in 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, I know. But no one knows. It's crazy. But no, like I go to the shops now and I get stopped when I go for walks and stuff. I get stopped. Primod, how are you, man? I don't think many people know my name. So no, it's Chris, man.
You get used to it. Don't worry about it.
So, man, as I was saying to you before we jumped on here, I think you're like the first big account that followed me. And I was like, holy shit, because I've seen your videos on YouTube before. And I was like, holy shit, Jamie's following me. And then my son, my 12-year-old son, watches all your videos. He's like, oh, that guy follows you. That guy for YouTube, Jamie, he follows you. It's like, man, so listen, I'm glad you're here, man. It's good to have a chat with you on the show.
Of course, bro. No, I appreciate that. Obviously, like I'm a big fan of your work and, a big fan of obviously speaking the truth. And especially during these times, we've got to have people that actually stand up and really just show the public what's going on. And I feel like in the position I'm in as well, I'm trying to figure out a way where I can do that, where it's going to get on that emotional level of the mainstream where they don't just think I'm a nutter. And I think that's something you've done really well. So pleasure to be here, bro.
Yeah, it's hard, man. We'll jump on that very quickly. So as you said, man, you'll be very careful how you say things and what you speak about, and more so how you say it, because the media have done a really good job of labeling anybody that speaks out just straight away: conspiracy theorist, anti-vaxxer, misinformation, extremist, radical. It's fucking crazy. Like, just by being honest, and which used to be something that like you're admired for. If you spoke the truth and stood up in adversity, and man, it was something to be admired. Now it's like, misinformation, anti-vaxxer, conspiracy theory. It's crazy what they've done.
Or it's nuts. Like, think about the whole word about freedom. Isn't that when you're supposed to have the legal right and authority to think for yourself, make up your own mind about certain topics and certain issues? But obviously they've done, I think, a great job in manipulating the public into thinking that freedom is now in a caged box, and that anyone outside of that is, as you said, extremist, anti-vaxxer, all these sort of terms that you call people that actually are malicious, are trying to inflict pain on society, like terrorists and whatnot. But it's crazy, bro. It's just this, and people get triggered over the word segregation, but it's a real thing. It's happening before our eyes, and the media, the governments, all the companies involved and whoever else is involved have just done a good job at manipulating. And you can see this has been coerced for a while.
Yeah, man, I've always spoken out against discrimination. And look, throughout this pandemic, there's some things that have been, I guess, some things make sense. And I think some things can be justified. For example, aged care residents, locking down aged care facilities. That makes sense. Even though it's still segregation and but to me that it's logical, and you can go, okay, that makes sense. I understand why they're doing that. But what's crazy is you have a whole class of people who are unvaccinated, but they're not sick. So I would, again, if they were to say, listen, if you're sick, stay at home, I'd like to think most people have the decency to do that anyway. And if they are sick, they're not going to go out anyway. It's like, just like we all do when we've got a flu, we don't go out coughing through the shopping centers and whatnot. But they've segregated healthy people just because of their immunization status, which is nuts.
It's crazy. As you said, healthy people, obviously it definitely does affect the more vulnerable, health compromised and elderly people. Like, the whole notion of locking down everyone for something that, as you always preach, has like a 99.7% chance of survival amongst most groups. So I'm not sure the exact wording you, obviously the specifics, but it's crazy, bro. And for me, even like, I haven't had the vaccine, I'm not going to get it, but I got COVID, 2 weeks ago myself. I understand there's maybe different variants or whatever. If that's sure, if it's not, I don't know. But fortunately enough for me, it was fine. Nothing really happened to me. And I know people are going to be listening to this, maybe that have different opinions. Oh yeah, but you're healthy, you're young. I understand that. But what I'm trying to say is validating your point, where the majority of us, the vast majority of us, it won't really affect us if we get it. For me, it was a bad flu. I got some body aches, had a bit of a cough, headaches, lost taste and smell, but it wasn't anything drastic. Nowhere near enough nowhere near bad enough to lock down the entire world over this sort of stuff. Obviously, you had things like the Spanish flu and all that sort of stuff, polio, which were different. But you don't see people dropping dead on the floor like the media portrayed in China early on. Yeah. There's got to be something fishy about it. And if people listening, I'm sure everyone listening to you has already opened at least one eye up into the whole thing. At the same time, there are a lot of people that haven't. I know people that haven't, and it's sad, bro, because essentially a lot of us are leading ourselves into our own demise, and we all want the same thing, but that's the way the media portrayed things, and that's just the way things are at the moment.
Yeah, mate, you said that very well. It's, as you said, for you obviously you knew you had it. So when did you just get tested because or was it something that you thought, shit, something's going on?
For me, bro, I don't get sick often, and I kind of came down with something. All my friends did as well. We're like, okay, like we didn't freak out, we didn't panic. I didn't really mind at all. I was like, okay, fair enough. If I have it, I have it, and I thought I'd grab a test. But I'm not one of those people that if I cough once in a blue moon, like I'll get tested. Like that's ridiculous. But I had a lot of the symptoms, and I thought maybe be responsible and get tested. And I'll be honest with you, bro, if I had it, it would have actually made my life easier because now I have an exemption from the vaccine. As funny as that sounds,
right.
But it was a thing where I wanted to obviously I didn't want to spread it to others, obviously, in the public. And also I thought if I have it, I'll recover. And then thirdly, something good might come out of it. I might get an exemption so that I won't be segregated from society like the rest of us that aren't unvaccinated. So it just had a lot of different elements to the situation, and it is what it is. And yeah, it was fine.
Yeah, so that's typical. So that's typical of someone your age. It doesn't hit them that bad at all. But what I'm finding with this is it's really the first time that they've made decisions based on worst case scenarios. So we live our lives really, all the laws that are in place and the decisions they make are based on averages. You can't make a decision or decisions based on worst case scenarios, especially when those decisions affect everybody, millions of people. And you shouldn't make them on the best case scenarios either, because that's equally unfair. But so we've always operated on averages, always. So as you said, it was a bit of a flu, but to, someone who's 85 years old, vaccinated or not, they're going to have a tough time with it. But they also have a tough time with the seasonal flu. That's just what happens as you get older. It's like, where do you draw the line? There's got to be some common sense that comes into play. And say, listen, because the people that have really been affected the most by the lockdowns, businesses are being closed permanently. A lot of businesses have closed down permanently. I know in Melbourne, I've seen some photos. I don't know whereabouts in Melbourne it was, but like the amount of businesses closed was fucking nuts. It's like half the street.
Bro, Melbourne's copped it. Obviously, yeah, as I live there. And you just see so many commercial places just up for lease. And it's sad to see because the city in itself, the reason I'm from Sydney, but I moved to Melbourne because of the fact that there's such a great social culture there. And I was lucky enough not to be there during the really harsh few lockdowns last year. But as you said, man, like even now, there's a different like smell in the air. There's a different vibe. The people of Melbourne have like almost lost hope in life in itself because they're always just hanging on by a thread. They don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. There's no certainty. And of course, like I'm empathetic to everyone else outside of Melbourne because it's very similar for the rest of the world. Whoever's controlling this entire thing, making these decisions, have gotten us used to not knowing what tomorrow brings. And it's not a nice way to live. There's no consistency. As you mentioned before the show started, you have a family to feed. How are you supposed to know what's going to happen in the next 6 months, couple months, let alone tomorrow? So Melbourne's, it's a pity, man. The social culture, everything about the city, there's just so much collaboration going on down there. There's so much enthusiasm for life, creativity, and it just sucks to see that that's been lost a lot. Thankfully enough, at the moment, from what I've seen, it is regathering itself. So it is coming back, the nightlife's coming back, but at the same time, everyone's got like the same thing in their head. We won't be surprised if this happens again. So it just sucks, man.
Yeah, it makes it hard to plan for the future, especially if you're a business owner. And you've got to think 12 months what's going to happen next year, and those business owners are probably reluctant to employ staff and to expand because of the risk involved with them at any time. And now with these new pandemic powers that everyone was fighting against, myself included, man, the fact that the Premier, who's got no medical background whatsoever, can declare a pandemic as he chooses, and that's a serious problem.
Massive, bro, massive. And what I've found living in Melbourne as well is that at the start of this whole thing, it was almost like vaccinated versus unvaccinated. But now, since this bill's come through, everyone's realizing, like, even the vaccinated, they're like, wait, like something's off here, and this shouldn't be happening. At the protests, obviously, the past couple of weeks, been amazing numbers, and you can't get those numbers unless a significant proportion is vaccinated. Whether or not the stats are true about 90%, 95%, who knows? But I heard like a couple of 100,000 people. I'm not sure the exact numbers, if that's true, if that's false, but huge turnouts. And they're all people of all different backgrounds and vaccine statuses, and which shouldn't even be an issue in itself, but like just everyone together collaborating and rising up against this. And yeah, there's just so much corruption, man. Like obviously in the world, but especially in Victoria. Like I know an MP at the last hour stepped in and voted against the bill being passed, which is great. Then all of a sudden, this other MP gives them the vote they need to pass it. There's something fishy going on. Obviously, politics in itself, you don't know what really happens, but Victoria's got some weird stuff going on, man.
Yeah, look, we've always known that politics is dirty and none of them should be trusted, which is crazy. Like for me, it's before this pandemic, if you would have said who's two groups of people you should never trust, it'd be politicians and the media, right? Yeah. And now all of a sudden, everyone people are hanging on to their every word like it's gospel. And like 2 years ago, it's incredible, like what can happen to people, and it's fear. Like fear makes people don't have the ability to think rationally when they're under stress or when they're fearful of something. And that's what's happened with this virus. Is that, and look, myself included, when we first heard about this thing at the beginning of 2020, mate, I was concerned. I think everyone was concerned, and I think rightfully so. We knew nothing about it. The way it was being portrayed in the media, like, as you said before, the videos from China where people were just walking down the street and fucking face planting.
Yeah.
So it was like, holy shit, how bad's this thing? They can just drop dead at any moment. That's how it was portrayed. So everyone was concerned. And as time went on, I felt like during that first wave we had, where Scott Morrison was handling it all, the Prime Minister was handling it all, the federal government was handling it, I feel like that was done, like it was appropriate. The measures in place were appropriate to the situation. I mean, it made sense, and you really had no reason to question them. It felt like they were doing what's best for us at that time. And then it spiraled a little bit towards the end. And then it was when Delta arrived, oh man, it was a game changer, literally, in the way that I believe that it was seen by some as an opportunity. I really do. I believe that. An opportunity for what? Who knows? We've all got our ideas, but it's the way it's been handled this time compared to the beginning of 2020 is vastly different. Like we're all shopping together. If you remember with the first wave, a lot of businesses were closed, but we could all still go to Woolies, Kmart, Big W. There was no questions asked, and it was now it's the opposite. So no, like for example, with me, man, like I can't go out, and you being unvaccinated as well. Although you got your little exemption now, don't you, for the
lucky man,
COVID, lucky man. So, man, I haven't been able to go and buy like clothes. I can't just walk into Big W, or not that I buy clothes from there, but any store and buy clothes because it's deemed non-essential. And it's, hold on a second, what do you mean? Like besides food, water, and shelter, clothes is pretty essential. They're essential. So it's bad, man. Like it's really bad the way they've handled it this time around, and whether it's intentional to try and put, as I said before, the 90%, you're not sure about whether that's right. Man, I'm not sure either. I don't know for sure, but I just find it hard to believe that if we were really at that 90% mark, why are they still pushing so hard? It doesn't make sense.
Thank you. Yes, exactly. If 90% of the population is protected against this thing, then why do they care about the 10%? Shouldn't, as you always preach, shouldn't the vaccine protect you from people that don't have it and from the virus? Like, why is it so necessary for the people that don't have it they don't even pose a health threat to anyone because you've got the vaccine, right? So you're protected. So therefore, does it work? Does it not? Who knows? And back to your point, like there's so many blurred lines. Like my mum, for example, she's very much into what we believe in and freedom of choice. And she's almost dedicated her entire life to spreading the truth and trying to wake people up, essentially. And she was doing a great job. She got diagnosed with a brain tumor last year. Thank God she recovered from it. And then ever since this sort of stuff's been happening, she's just found it, and definitely as you have as well, like she has a bit of a newfound purpose to spread the truth and spread the message and really try and help and save the world, essentially. And she even said to me, she's obviously there are these like fraudulent passes going around and everything and to get into shops and whatnot. Like I'm not condoning anything against the law, but what do you do sometimes, man? Like you want to go get clothes for your kids, you want to go get like things that you deem as essential, but the government doesn't. Like there's all these blurred lines you don't know. And I said to her, you know, you can still get into these shops. There's ways around it. And she goes, you know what? There is ways around it, but I don't want to be showing support to these businesses that agree with this sort of discrimination. And I said to her, you know what? That's really true. Like I even with my legal exemption, I get asked, oh, where's your vaccine pass? I flash it. But now I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I don't want to join into that like segregation. I don't want to say, yeah, here's my pass. So now I go in and I say, I have an exemption, just so people know I don't want to be a part of this whole thing. I really don't. Like, I don't agree with it. I don't agree that you have to show your fucking passes to go into Sunglasses Hut. You know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous. You got to check in and everything as well. Like, I see reasons for maybe why they want to do that, but I also see reasons for how they're manipulating people into getting used to this new way of living for a whole bunch of other reasons that we could go on all day about control, martial law, whether that's true or not, who knows? But it's crazy, man. It's crazy. Like rules keep changing every day. There's no consistency with anything. Nothing makes sense. And that's obviously what you're preaching about, which is great. And I'm trying to figure out a way where I can as well without getting my entire career ruined.
Yeah, it's hard for you. And before we jumped on here, I had a word with you, man, just to make sure, because I get it. Man, I get messages all the time from people in similar positions, athletes, actors, musicians, and a lot of them but they're unhappy. They are speaking out about it, but they can't really do it publicly because if they do, like they've been threatened. You can't speak, you can't say anything, don't talk about it. If they speak out about it, they'll probably lose their income or their contract will get torn up or whatever their situation is. But so I get it. It must be very tough. And man, that's why I've always said from day one when I started this show, I said, I want to keep it independent. I don't want any backing from anybody because I want to be able to come on here and speak how I feel and be honest. And it's good that I'm in a position where I can do that and don't have to worry about some other working for somebody else who goes, oh, you can't say that, remove that from I can say whatever I want, let it fly. But it must be tough, man, to be in your position where obviously it's your income, it's your livelihood, and to be walking on eggshells all the time, it must be tough.
Very, very tough. Like I've had positions where sorry, bro, you there?
Yeah, all good, man.
Sorry, my mum just tried to call me.
That's all right,
Did
bro.
that cut me out or was that?
No, it was still going, it was ringing.
Oh, okay, cool.
You know,
yeah, no, to answer your question, yeah, it is very tough for me. You know, I've been in positions where I've been in meetings, for example, where everyone's freely talking about like, just come up to Sydney from Melbourne, this and that, like freely talking about how everyone just assumes everyone's vaccinated. And for me, and I've said I don't have it, and I just get this like really weird like vibe of people when, not everyone obviously, but a lot of people, like companies are like, oh, that was unexpected of you to say that. And that's just the way, obviously the media has portrayed people that haven't been vaccinated as we were saying before, like extremists and horrible words that should not be called towards anyone that's just a normal person. As you said, the way they've been fear mongering us almost makes anyone that goes against the agenda seem like these words. So for me, like when I try to speak out, I've done a couple of public posts. I actually complained. So I'm a partner of Facebook and Instagram, which is obviously a huge company. And that's a very precious relationship I have with them. And I would never want to jeopardize that. But there are some things that I see them pushing, which I'm not a fan of, such as there was a campaign recently called "Don't Be a Misinfluencer." And I thought to myself, oh, here we go. I see what's happening here. And like, I'm always first on their list to represent them. They've flown me out to Singapore to represent Instagram at VidCon Asia, big conferences I've hosted, Facebook Creator Days and everything. And these guys are my friends at all these big companies and all these people I work with. But I understand from their perspective, no matter what they believe, and that's just how society is right now. Like everyone's fearful. And so I sent them an email in private, and because they were using, I won't mention her name, but you probably already know who I'm like talking about when I say this. She's very vocal about the pro-vax and making a lot of degenerate comments about people that, you know, don't have the vaccine and whatnot, and mocking them in a sense. I'm going to go overseas and do all this, and you guys are going to stay in your fucking prison cells. You know what I mean? You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I complained because I'm not a fan of how she approaches things. Bro, be pro-vax, be everything. That's fine, but it's at the end of the day, like, you can't be mocking people that don't want this for themselves. And obviously this whole thing's about pro-choice, which I believe in. Get it, don't get it, that's fine. And yeah, I sent them an email in confidence, and they replied. They were like, hey, thanks for reaching out. We always want honest feedback. But I can tell it's even hard from them on their behalf, regardless if they agree with me or not, to say anything. Like, she's been chosen as this spokesperson by whoever. That's their doing, but I said I'm not going to take a part in this if she's representing. And the message in itself is, let's be honest, it's, if you don't believe this, then you're a misinfluencer, essentially. So with me, in my position, I've just been doing stuff with my close friends. If I'm honest with you, I find I get a lot of backlash if I even subtly say things out in public, which I still do here and there. But you're right, man, it's hard for me. I'm treading on eggshells all the time, and I'm scared because I don't want to be deplatformed. I've built 11 million followers total in like 7 years. How am I going to give that all away? At the same time, I want to help society. I want to help move the world forward. But I'm trying to think of a way where I can do that without having to obviously suffer. So it is hard.
Which is nuts, man, because you should be able to speak. As we said, there's a big difference between being pro-choice and anti-vax. As I've said from day one, I've never, ever told a single person that they shouldn't get it or they should get it. No one. The only people that I've said that to are my kids, which is, I'm their father. I have a right to tell them that. But
you have a legal right, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but man, I've never told another human being they should or shouldn't. Man, I simply share information about that, and it's not about being anti-vax. It's about people have the right to know both sides of the story. When they say, and this is what really gets to me at times, is that the government will say, if you have any doubts, go and see your GP. But the GPs can't say anything. They're not allowed to speak out against it. Otherwise, they'll be called in and disciplined for, they might have their license, the medical license stripped or whatever. There's been so many stories of that happening. So, okay, I'll speak to my GP. And what are they going to say? They're going to say, oh, yeah, you should get it. But funnily enough, my own GP, who I've been seeing for years, he was very honest, and he told me that that's my mum. And he was very honest. And he said, listen, why? He goes, why do you want it for? He said, look at you, your age, you're healthy. There's no need for you to get it. But if I was to report him can you imagine if I was to say, hey, listen, my GP does, but he'll get in massive trouble. He'll cop fines and probably have his medical license stripped. So there's just so much censorship. And I believe in everyone making an informed decision. Everyone should have the opportunity to make an informed decision when it comes to any medical procedure. Doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a vaccine, whether it's an operation, liposuction, fucking lip fillers, whatever it is. You should know both sides. Okay, this is what you're going to get, but these are the risks that are associated with that particular procedure. There should be some transparency, and there's been none of that, simply because they haven't man, if you speak out against it, your post will get removed. Little fact checker box will come up and say, oh, wrong. And man, I just posted something on Twitter last night because I find Twitter to be quite good in terms of being able to say a lot more without having to get flagged. Whereas Instagram and Facebook were,
you can post on Twitter without any problems.
Yeah, it's nuts, but it's good. Like, it's good if you need to speak up. And I shared something last night, which was published in the mainstream media about AstraZeneca causing blood clots and how it actually does it. The mechanism involved, and I'll share it later, but it was very interesting. But man, I was saying that 2 or 3 months ago because I was being told that from doctors and professors that I've spoken to. So I was just sharing that information and they're getting removed. I was getting flagged for spreading COVID misinformation. But now it's well known, it's established that that's exactly what's happened. So it's a huge problem.
Bro, can you believe, like, and this goes far back as well in time. This isn't just with the COVID vaccine, but vaccine companies in general have complete indemnity and protection for any risks and any injuries that occur. I'm pretty sure you can obviously verify that. With this one, as you said, like, your doctors can't speak up against it, even if they've, say your doctor has had a relative that has had a really bad vaccine injury. He can't say any of that. He's got to still be pro-vaccine. He can't say anything wrong with it. Bro, if you had the vaccine, say, one morning, and then you went to hospital straight after with heart problems or whatever they cause, they wouldn't even ask you. Like, they'd ask you, okay, yeah, you just had the vaccine, whatever. What'd you have for breakfast this morning? And if you say I had a glass of water, they'd say it was the fucking glass of water that gave you a heart attack.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. Like, how can one thing that obviously hasn't even had extensive research, something that is known to be a little bit sus already, and with this whole thing going on, like, how can you not point fingers at it? How can you think it's the fucking water that gave you the heart attack? You know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous. It's almost like there's just nothing that you can say about it that can be against it without getting cancelled. Like, it's just ridiculous. And for me, actually, it's funny because on the Medicare app, when I got my exemption, it's there and everything. But if you go to my vaccine history, I've actually had 0 vaccines, and I'm not against them at all. I think they've definitely saved lives, they've definitely helped people, but it is funny. And then all of a sudden, people have this opinion of you. You're an anti-vaxxer. I'm not anti anything. I just think do what you want. Your own health is your responsibility. Your kids' responsibility. Your kids' health is your responsibility. And just back to my point, you know, how the media's portrayed everything. It's ridiculous. So the vaccine itself and all these booster shots, bro, like, come on, man. What are they whether it's for health or not, or whatever it is, what are they determined to get into our bodies with all these different boosters? Yeah, variant this, variant that, but it's very sus. What really is in it?
It's crazy because the boosters are the same thing. So when you go and get the first 2 injections, which you were told at that point you're fully vaccinated and protected, which now we know that's not true at all. So you got to go and get your 3rd shot, booster shot. And then I know Israel, I was reading this morning, Israel's just flagged the 4th shot. So they're not fully vaccinated now unless they've had the 2 shots plus the booster. And now when it goes to the 4th, they're going to have to get that. So they have 2 shots, the initial 2 shots, and then 2 boosters to be qualified as or classed as fully vaccinated. But they're using the same vaccine that they used previously. It doesn't make sense. It's all the same, right? So hold on, it didn't work the first 2 or 3 times. Or it only gave me 6 months protection, 3 months protection, whatever they say it is now. But that's not a fucking vaccine. And they compare it, and I've noticed that the mainstream media, I've read an article from news.com.au. Now, I've been very critical of news.com.au. I think they're propaganda machines. They're probably one of the worst that I've seen.
100%. They're the worst I've seen as well.
They're the worst, man. So just right behind the Daily Mail. They're actually probably on par. So anyway, I seen something on there. So what they do, they will compare this vaccine to other vaccines. And they'll say, it's quite common though. Like we get booster shots for all other vaccines. And they use tetanus and whooping cough as an example. Now, tetanus shots once every 10 years.
Yeah.
You got to get a booster. This, like in Israel, it's been less than 12 months and on their fourth. Like, that's crazy, man. That's one every 3 months. So no, it's not. You can't compare the whooping cough or the tetanus vaccine to this, because the other ones are actually vaccines. They give you long-term protection, and the chances of getting the whooping cough or any other thing from the ones they discussed, man, it's very rare. Almost never happens. If you have the whooping cough vaccine, you're almost certain not to get the whooping cough.
Yeah.
But with these, man, people are still getting it. Look, it's common knowledge now. When at first we were told, no, it's impossible, you can't get it. So it just shows you how things change over time. And that's the problem with mandating something. When you mandate something, it freezes science in time. So AstraZeneca blood clots, we now know that. It's been published and spoken about now all across the mainstream media. So what about those people that had the AstraZeneca because they wouldn't have got it, but because it was mandated for their employment, they went out, got it. Now they had blood clots as a result of that. That's not right, man.
And there's no as far as I know, there's no compensation. There's no, like, you can't point the fingers at the companies at all, because they're completely protected by the governments. And as you always preach yourself, like with these big pharmaceutical companies, and obviously there's all these boosters. Come on, man, like something's so up. If you don't realize by your third booster that something's fucked here, like, what world are you living in? You're living under the biggest fucking rock I've ever seen in my life. It's just obvious. But at the same time, ignorance is bliss. It really is. What they've done is they've extended this thing for so long where it's just normality now. And people are just like, what are we going to do? Like, we're powerless. They keep changing things. They keep mandating things. It's only getting worse. So I'm just going to live fast, die young kind of thing. And as you said, man, like, a lot of my mates are vaccinated, a lot aren't, you know, but the ones that are, the vast majority, I would say 90%, 95%, they didn't want it in the first place. Because as your doctor said, you're young, you're healthy, like, you're not at risk. Of course, the elderly and the immunocompromised, I understand for sure. If that makes you feel protected, and if you think that that's good for your health, 100% get it. But brings you back to your first point, which was, why lock the entire world down when it's only a small proportion of the people that are actually going to suffer? And I'm not trying to discriminate and say, oh, we shouldn't suffer, they shouldn't. Not at all, but it's just the way, like, logic works. And since logic isn't being used at all in this whole thing, what are you going to do?
Yeah. That's it. Logic is lost now, and people become so accustomed to what they're seeing and hearing that I think a lot of people know what's up. Like, man, everybody can't be that dumb. Like I say all the time, there's no way, like, Delta variant affect kids. I said, you know what, 6 months ago, when they first started, either just first started or about to start the rollout, I said that they're going to vaccinate the kids. Man, I was ridiculed. You're crazy, you're nuts, you're this, you're that. And I said, man, do you know what? There's too much money on the table for them not to try and vaccinate children. They would at least try. I think I said they're going to try. And they did. Before you knew it, was 12 to 16-year-olds. And now it's 5 to 11-year-olds, which is fucking deeply concerning. And then, as they approved that, I read, again, news.com.au, saying that Omicron's, you know, it's putting children under 5 in hospitals. Here we go. Use it as planting the seed for the next lot. So it's so predictable, man. It's like clockwork, but people just don't see that.
Yeah. Didn't you say that it was exactly the same time? I think you posted this morning or something, where it was the same timing where they said, oh, the Omicron's affecting 5 to 11s, and then same time as when they were advertising the vaccine for 5 to 11-year-olds or something like that. Like, it all correlated, as you.
Yeah, man, it all fits in together. And it's, man, like, this has been happening from day one. I was like, what more? And we remember at first when it was the bats, it came from the bats, from the wet market. And then if you spoke out against that and you said, no, it came from the lab, Facebook were removing your account. Like, they were deleting your account for even suggesting that it came from a lab. Now we all know that it did come from the lab. Like, it's not even up for debate anymore.
Yeah,
right?
Correct.
The wet market was bullshit. It was a cover-up story. We all know that. So I wonder, is Facebook, because look, for the average person, I'll just make another Facebook account. But for people like yourself, and I think me to a certain extent, man, it's the only way I'm earning money at the moment is through the podcast and bits and pieces. So, man, it could be devastating to lose it. And I wonder, as Facebook, are they reinstating the accounts of people that they deleted for misinformation when the truth does eventually come out?
I don't know. Luckily for me, I haven't copped anything from Facebook. Instagram do the whole like, oh, you might be spreading misinformation by posting this, all that sort of stuff. But for me, what I found is like Facebook, put it this way, this is why I personally think that this whole thing correlates towards a narrative of getting the global population used to living under harsher measures and control. That's obviously a bit out of the scope, but what I've seen is back in 2000 and virus or not, back in 2017, 16, they started to censor people on social media. Like it already began a while ago, and it was called the ad apocalypse back then. And this was early on when I was making videos. I just started to, really go well on Facebook, and all the platforms were really popping for me. Then all of a sudden, like they implemented demonetization, where whether it's real or not, apparently companies, so you know how when you watch a YouTube video, there's an ad before it.
Yeah.
There were ads before everyone's videos, regardless of what you posted. And I understand this from a company's perspective. There was a big company, I think in the UK, that said, hey, we've noticed that our ads are being put before unbrand friendly content, like terrorism videos or just like sexual content, whatever.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, we're not gonna continue working with YouTube. And so then all these other companies followed. Whether it's true, whether it's coerced, I don't know. But then this started the whole collapse of certain accounts that had sensitive content. And I was doing pranks back then, and I had some dirty humor, whatever, some kind of out there stuff, and it was harmless fun for me. But all of a sudden, like my stuff started to get demonetized, and there was no warning, there was no nothing. It just happened straight away. And then
so that's remove all the ads from your videos.
They'd remove all the ads, or they'd remove all the videos, or they'd remove your account. It was ridiculous.
Wow.
Like with no warning, like just did a 180 overnight. And then this started the whole real like global censorship. I feel like it started way before this, and things take time. I'm not sure. Like I go pretty deep into the whole. I've researched all about predictive programming, all that sort of conspiracy stuff. I'm aware of it. Whether it's true or not, who knows? But
that's interesting though.
Bro, it's interesting how the world works. And this is an even bigger conversation to have, which I think relates to this. But back on the topic of censorship, it just slowly, without you even noticing, became normal for you not to be able to say this word or that word. Bro, I got a video demonetized for saying the word adopted. Like back in 2017, you think that's ridiculous, but now it's just normality. And that brings me to my next point, which is now this is normality, what we live in. Bro, how crazy is this? Oh my God, I'm free. I can go to a cafe tomorrow. That's crazy. That's fucking crazy.
It is, man. It's nuts.
What do you mean you can go to a cafe and you're excited? That's how sucked in we've been, all of us. And they've just played it so smart where slowly predictive programming, all this sort of stuff, like slowly getting you used to this is the way life is and this is freedom now. That wasn't freedom, this is. Now that's our normality. And it's just sad to see, like cafes are great, don't get me wrong, but like
that's right. It shouldn't be a privilege to be able to go there.
Correct. Exactly, man. And I've just seen it with my own eyes, being in this world of social media, how everything in the world has slowly started to change, and it's pushing us towards more and more totalitarian measures, whether it's for health or not. I feel like personally, controversially, this virus was a catalyst for where they want to move the world in terms of control. That's my prediction. I don't know if I'm right or wrong. Who knows? But it all adds up.
Yeah, it does add up. And look, whether or not it was something that was what was premeditated, where they thought about it before this started, or whether they've sort of just it got leaked out of the lab and they've made it up on the go and thought, hold on, this is a great opportunity to use this to push whatever they're trying to push. It could have been that. I'm not saying they unleashed a virus in order to achieve whatever they set out to, but it could have, as I said, I do believe that this Delta variant, they started looking at it as an opportunity as opposed to a health crisis. But it's a great opportunity to, as I said, whatever they impose these totalitarian measures that really, like, if they would have said from the beginning, from day one, listen, we've got a virus here. Can you imagine if they said that you can't work unless you're vaccinated from the get-go? Man, there would have been, the public would have lost it. So as you said, they've done it gradually, which is what happens. But I've noticed as well that on social media, I've even done it myself because I see everyone else do it. If people won't even write fuck anymore in their caption, you notice that? Like they'll censor their own fuck, whatever they say out.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That didn't
Especially
happen
TikTok.
2 years ago.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm like, what's wrong with the word fuck? Which is weird because they're moving in one direction, but then I've seen it quite a few times now, an ad on Channel 10, like in a family time, man, 6, 7 o'clock at night, promoting vibrators. Not only promoting like an ad promoting vibrators, but it's like a 70-year-old lady, maybe even older, standing on there. She's going into details. Like it's disgusting. Talks about a clitoris and it's fucking revolting. Like no one wants to see that shit. And that's on a family time, like 6, 7 o'clock at night. But then they're also moving the other direction where you can't say fuck anymore.
Yeah. It's so biased, bro. Because even what I've noticed on social media is that someone like me, I can't say fuck. I can't say adoption. I can't say anything like that doesn't offend anyone. But then you see all these rappers and you see all the mainstream music, bro. What's it about? It's all about sex. It's, you know, remember WAP last year?
Oh, yeah.
Bro, like how is that allowed? And then I can't say adoption. And then,
It's
then you
crazy.
start to think like, why do these people get away with it? Why do these people not? Who knows? That's a whole different conversation itself. But it's just ridiculous how some people can get away with some things, some can't. But then again, how they've done this to obviously confuse people, but also to push society towards one direction. Who knows, man? Anything can be possible. I'm not the sort of guy that has an ego about this whole thing and I'm right. Everything I say is right, whatever. I could be right, I could be wrong. I'm open to new things, new theories, new suggestions. Anything could be possible at this point. Like, we just don't know, but we do know something's fucking off. That's what we do know.
Man, you look at this rationally with a logical mind, where I like to think I do the same thing. Whereas some people from the beginning were like, nope, this is what they're talking about. This is vaccine passports linked to another passport, carbon passport, which is like a social credit score. And they just lost their mind over it from the beginning. I never did that. I watched it play out and I've just come to conclusions based on what I've seen. And it doesn't add up. As I said, man, if I was sitting with you in a room and we'll just say we're part of some health cabinet and we're sitting there. So, Jamie, we've really got to sort this out. Man, we're in a health pandemic. We've got to shut, some stores down, keep some open. We've got to close non-essential businesses. What do you reckon, Jamie? Man, I can guarantee you the first thing anyone would say would be tobacconists, bottle shops, maybe fast food.
Yeah.
But definitely tobacconists and bottle shops straight away.
Right. Yep.
But yet they remained open in a health pandemic, like it's a fucking necessity.
They were like the only things open, if anything.
Yeah, you get your groceries, or you could go and get pissed. There was no, as man, like, how can anybody look at that and go, "Oh yeah, that's normal. That's in the best interest of us and our health." Not only that, man, like domestic violence rates were through the roof in lockdown. They're through the roof. Every time I go into lockdown, domestic violence rates increase, alcohol consumption increases, which probably leads to the increase in domestic violence. But I mean, it's not in our best interest. And I've been very vocal about that from the get-go, that listen, if you want us to get serious about our health, I 100% support that. 100%. Because we're sick, man. Like as a nation, we're sick. Like you walk outside, man, and people look unhealthy. They look stressed. They're overweight. They look unhealthy. And that's another thing, like where I speak about that obesity is a huge problem.
Yeah.
Huge problem. And people will start, oh, you're fat shaming. No, I'm not fat shaming anybody. I'm not picking on a person because they're overweight. I'm just saying, listen, it's a problem for your health. So it's crazy, man. Like I fully support any measure that government's put in place to make us healthier. But this isn't it.
It's not at all. That's a very good point you just raised. If it really was about our health, why wouldn't they close down everything? Why wouldn't they start really like rewarding local organic food grocery stores. But what they do is they shut down any small business that, you know, need to survive in this climate, and obviously kept the big multi-corporational companies like, you know, Coles, bottle shops, tobacconists open. How does that make any sense? If it was about health, as I said, there'd be all over the news, instead of just fear mongering, like, and promoting vaccines, it'd be, okay, there's maybe a virus out here that we have to, you know, think about, but this is how you protect yourself. And we have an immune system, like, we don't have it for nothing. And what I see that's sad is, like, I go to a sort of organic food store in Melbourne to get my groceries from, and the guy there, like, he does his job because he wants to help people with their health. He knows that this is the way that's helped him, and he wants to help others. And he provides such great, like, organic vegetables, fruits, herbs, everything, like groceries, right? And it's just a shame, because he really suffered during this whole thing. But then you've got guys that, as you said, are like running bottle shops in these big corporations that are profiting from it. How the fuck does that make any sense? And also, it sucks that now, as we spoke about, everything slowly becomes normalized. Bro, heart disease was not a normal thing back, I don't know how many years ago, but it's not a normal thing for humans to have. But when you bring up the argument, oh, if it was about health, then why don't they close down Hungry Jack's and McDonald's? Everyone's like, oh no, but that's normal. That's the problem. They fucking make normal abnormal, but they're so clever with how they do things. But think about when you go on the street, and since this whole pandemic, you know, started, I've really been opening my eyes up about how the world works, and it's shit. I was in Vegas 2 years ago, and I walked into the kitchen. I had a couple of American friends speaking about some stuff, and I'm like, hey, what are you speaking about? They go, you know what? If you knew, you'd never see the world the same again. You're better off knowing. And I realized they're talking about how almost everything is based upon well, it's controversial, but making us suffer for someone else's, whether it's profit or agenda, whatever it is. And yeah, like, think about it. A lot of things that are normalized for us are bad for us. Pollution, obviously, it's controversial. I don't want to get into it. I'm trying to say, look around you. Like, the most simplistic things in your house aren't good for you.
Oh.
Like, all the pesticides, chemicals they put on food, all the chemicals that we ingest every day, even going as far as things like radiation. Obviously, it's helped us a lot in general with technology, but there's always a catch. And I just feel like everything that I perceive as normal actually isn't in reality. Like, it's not good. And it's hard because we live in this world. What are we going to do? We don't want to be pessimists the whole time, but we got to just be awake and just do our best.
Man, you know what? It's good to hear you speak about this, and to the fact where you make your living from technology, but at the same time, you're acknowledging the fact that it's not the best thing. And it's not, man. Like, they normalize things that are completely abnormal. And to be honest, some things are sick. Now, I'm definitely not, I have some conservative beliefs, but I'm also very progressive if it's for the betterment of humanity. Now, not everything progressive is good, but people will make out that it is. Man, like, I went to a campaign, it was like maybe 3 years ago. It was called the Aware campaign. And what it was about, the impacts of pornography on children. Mm-hmm. So I've, as you probably know, prior to losing my job because of the vaccine mandate, I worked in mental health. So I've always taken interest in mental health and psychology. And man, I've seen and I know what pornography does to people. People look at it like it's just some innocent thing that people watch and have a bit of fun and that's it. But man, it's not. It's when I went to this Aware campaign, I was speaking about how it affects like your dopamine levels, and you don't see the opposite sex the same way anymore. So you start, like, it normalizes abnormal sexual behavior, which is true. It does, man. So, man, when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, man, you're the same, man. There was porn, there was man and girl, there was lesbian porn, there was gay porn. That was really it. Like, it wasn't too much more than that. Now, man, fuck, you look up like the most searched categories, it's fucking stepmoms and so, what the fuck?
Yeah.
To me, man, that's abnormal.
And do you know what, on that note, do you remember how when we were kids, you're my age, 28, 29, like it first started out as like taboo. Like, it wasn't mainstream back then. You get like a proper slap on the wrist if you were caught watching porn. By your parents would block your internet provider, your dial-up connection, whatever it might be. Now and this brings me back to my point before. slowly over the past 10, 15, 20 years, whatever, now it's normal. And that's not a good normal, as we just spoke about. It's abnormal. That's just another example of what we were speaking about, how society's fucked and now things that are normal, like they're really not.
No, they're not. It's just what's perceived as normal because it's been, as you said, over time, gradually made to seem that way, like it's just a part of everyday life. But it's not. And they start, like, I know in, what country was it? Some part of, maybe it was in the US. I'd have to find out. But I read it. They're giving out, this school was giving out free condoms to 12-year-olds. It's a new program they're running where they're giving out free condoms to 12-year-olds. So I'm thinking, hold on a second. You're just saying that the age of people having sex is getting younger and younger, and you don't want that to happen. And they're actively, like, they've got campaigns out there trying to stop it. But at the same time, they're giving condoms out to 12-year-olds. Like, hold on. And then you're complaining about, teenage pregnancy and all these things. It's like you're promoting it indirectly. Like, you're not saying, like, obviously how else would kids know that these teachers have condoms? There'd have to be some sort of bulletin or something that gets sent out. So it just doesn't make sense. And it's a huge problem.
Yeah, man. And as we're speaking about, like, it sucks to say this, but if not most things aren't done for our benefit at all. It's really not. Like, the world we live in on Earth, whether it's different on other planets, if they exist, who knows? But in this planet especially, like, it sucks because there's so much, like, negativity here. And there's so much, like, it just sucks. It's hard to survive. And there's a reason that divorce rates are so high in this era. There's a reason. Like, I'm sure a lot of people that are married to each other, and I'll be honest with you, bro, like, a lot of people that I've come across, whether it's like in the past or just currently or just people I hear about, like on YouTube, whatever, there's a big cheating problem in this day and age. And it's probably largely to do with the fact that people are so overstimulated by pornography. And now, as you said, what is actually normal doesn't do it for them anymore. So they have to go and find other means of pleasure, satisfaction elsewhere. And it's breaking marriages apart. Like, what's good about that? What's good about anything to do with porn? Yeah, okay, maybe, I don't know, like, apart from giving someone a career and these companies making massive amounts of money, surely there's some sort of maybe agenda to it as well if you think a bit deeper. I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. Who knows if I'm right? But this world it's just fucked.
It is fucked. And look, there may not be an agenda with pornography. It could just be purely financial.
Yeah.
Because, man, they make a lot of money. And it's one thing that's never, like, let's be honest, pornography is never going to be irrelevant.
Never.
It's going to always be there forever. But, man, it's a problem. And it's concerning me as a father with children, of young children, should I say, that it's going to be something that I'm mindful of, because I know what it's like. But, what it's like as a teenage boy, man, your testosterone's raging. And, man, but back then when me and you were teenagers, man, we had the dial-up connection. I used to have to sit there, man, and I thought, what was back in the day, redtube.com, sit there, fucking click on a video, wait 45 minutes to watch 10 seconds of it, then wait for it to load again. Fuck. It was
at least I fixed that problem.
Oh man, it was the longest wank of my life. It was like 3-4 hours longest waiting for the video to load. It was crazy. But
I usually last 20 seconds, but I had to last an hour.
Yeah, but used to make you wait. But all that shit now is so available to kids, man. Like, we used to have to pay, like, it was a lot harder. We used to have to pay for, like, excessive data charges, and it wasn't as accessible as it is now. Well, they can just jump on their phones, man, iPads, whatever, and it's there. And there's no verification. Like, if anything, man, like, they should put something like an age verification or something. I don't know, man. But it just seems to be a problem that is getting worse.
Yeah, they contradict themselves by, what's it called, with all this mainstream entertainment, mainstream music, like, promoting it, and then with the censorship they're against it. So it just doesn't make any sense. And the pornography industry is obviously, like, massive now. And what I see in kids as well is the culture is becoming way more sexualized, way younger. I could see what was happening with our generation when we were kids versus or compared to, like, our parents' generations and stuff, where it was more conservative. And hey, freedom of speech, acceptance, equality is a great thing. But the way they're doing it, and the way, as we just said, pornography is becoming so mainstream. And I see young kids, and as you said, the 12-year-old campaign, that's fucked, man. Like, I thought of it as a problem already, how sexualized the culture was becoming with our generation. But look at the kids now, man. Like, you see these, especially like even people on, like girls on TikTok.
Yeah.
And what they're doing on TikTok and flaunting themselves and all this sort of stuff. And I don't discriminate against nothing, but just the age as to how young they start now is concerning, and how sexualized the culture is also concerning. And like, I'm personally lucky. I know people that have to go on porn every single day, every day.
Yeah, man.
I'm very lucky for whatever reason. Yeah, I'm vanilla in that way. Thank God. And I was never really that much into it. We've all had our times, I'm sure, and whatnot. But yeah, man, just like, it's harder. And another problem with society at the moment is, as we spoke about, technologies. I'm very fortunate. So are you too. It's given me a great platform, a great career. It's definitely a huge benefit for society. Of course it is. But the way in which, like, think about when we were kids, we had like our Game Boys, like Nintendo 64, but our entire world wasn't based on technology. Like, it sucks to say this, but I've said this to a few people. What I see in the future, I could be wrong, but I feel like the amount of technology that's being connected to us, that's being like put in schools and everywhere we go, like everything's technology. I feel like this reality that we see manifested in our physical presence is going to be our secondary reality. It's, we're going to be, I'm thinking crazy right now, but imagine like the way it's going, we could be just connected to things all the time, and the virtual reality could be our world. They're coming out with like virtual, like buying virtual land now. Like, it's crazy. Like, it's cool.
Metaverse.
But my point is, the virtual universe. Yeah. My point is, imagine being a kid born into this life, such a blessing, 1 in 4 trillion chance of being born a human being. And your whole world is like a fucking screen. Like, you and I got to play in the park, pick out grapes and random shit, build sandcastles. Like, we got to go to school and write, draw on whiteboards and do sport. Like, it sucks for kids now. Like, everything's on a screen. You're gonna get problems with your health from being on screens all the time as well. Your eyes are gonna start going at a young age, and diseases and health related issues are becoming so much more normalized in young people now. And you wonder why. It's just,
well, man, you know, I feel like we grew up, so we were that generation. I feel like we're very blessed and lucky in the sense where we, man, if you were to imagine, like, go to 100 years in the future, think back, we're living through a really incredible time in terms of the advancement of technology. Like, we've lived through it now, where we've like seen the invention of the fucking iPhone.
Yeah,
man, that's going to be looked back as a moment like, holy fuck, that's shaped the world in a sense. We've seen the iPad, all these things that are like, just, we've witnessed it. But we also we grew up when it wasn't everything, where we still had the normal childhood, and as teenagers, been getting up to trouble. And I mean, I used to get in that much shit when I was a teenager. Like, we all did, man. Like, we get into trouble and do things we shouldn't have done. But in hindsight, it's innocent fun, right?
Yeah.
It's like, we never meant to hurt anybody, just us fucking around, being young and learning. And that's how you grow, is learning and from your mistakes. And I feel like we're really lucky in that sense, where we had that opportunity, where our lives just wasn't technology. Now, like, man, kids aren't going to start meeting women like in the traditional settings. It's going to be all Tinder and all the rest of it. Yeah, bro. Like, remember, we used to go to the movies, man. Like, used to take a girl out to the movies, bro. It was fun. It was exciting. You used to have the confidence to go up and be like, hey, remember, it was like, would you go out with me?
Yeah.
You get your friend to ask. Remember that?
You'd write like a note and just flick it to them in class, but now they don't even have fucking pens or paper, from what I've heard. I don't know, but you're so right. Like, the dating culture, especially, and with technology, of course, as much as it's great and it's helped us, it is very superficial. Yeah, like, we used to do like just the funnest stuff back then, and like, just, you had to be creative. Everything it was at your fingertips, but in a sense where you had to create your own reality. Whereas you go on the internet, everything's there for you, so you don't even have to use your brain. And what I find, bro, if I'm speaking to a girl, whatever, I hate Instagram messaging. I hate texting, because it's so superficial, to the point where I don't understand how you're trying to say this. Like, I could just type something and be so blunt and they take it the wrong way. But you don't know I'm not saying that in reality. It's like it's just so much better, like in this physical world we've been blessed to have, that God's given us. Like, we're here for a reason, and technology, as much as it's great, it's got some really big problems, as we've just spoken about. I just hate,
very addictive, man. It's very addictive.
And I can't imagine being a kid in this day and age and thinking that's normal, just having your head down, pinned to a screen all day. Because with our generation, it was almost like a luxury. Like, as much as we had Game Boys and stuff, we were blessed to not have it as our entire life.
Yeah, man. And it's just, it's the way that children are, look, they're much smarter than we were. Like my 12-year-old son, man, he's that fucking intelligent.
Yeah.
He knows a lot. He knows a little bit about everything.
Yeah.
So he could jump on here now and have a conversation with us, no dramas. Whereas when we were that age, we didn't know a great deal other than what our parents had taught us and what we'd learned in school. But now, man, the amount of, which can be a good thing, don't get me wrong. The internet's got some great shit out, like great content out there for me. If you want to learn about anything, you can just jump on Google and search it.
Sure.
But our attention spans are getting shorter, which is another problem. That's why TikTok's been so successful, is because it's that really short format video. Whereas which when you started doing YouTube, what'd you say, 7 years ago?
Yeah.
Man, it was like the longer format video, and people used to sit through them. Have you noticed a change in that yourself in terms of the content?
I can't describe to you how much TikTok's like fucked up video platforms. I'm not gonna lie about this. It does, like, for two reasons. Firstly, because when I started, I would consider myself like second era social media in Australia, if you want to call it that. I was definitely one of the earliest, but not the very earliest. And when I started making videos on YouTube, a couple minutes, like even 10 minutes, some even 20 would go well, because people were more like focused. Like, the attention span was there. Like, you didn't have to do something every 15 seconds that was different. And so I found a great degree of success with longer form videos. And as time went on, it started off, I was only on YouTube, and then Facebook videos took off, and that was a lot shorter for sure. That kind of started the whole trend potentially. I don't know. You had Vine back in the day before any of this.
Yes.
And that was like 6 seconds. But putting it into perspective in like the past few years, definitely from YouTube to Facebook. So YouTube was probably like 5 to 10 minutes. Then Facebook came up, it was probably 2-3 minutes, whatever. Then Instagram, 1 minute. And now TikTok has fucked everything. I'm telling you right now. I'm not afraid to say this. I've got 2.1 million followers on TikTok. Like, I don't really, it's a great platform to have, but the way that it's like done, it's been good because it's provided more people an opportunity to get their message out there, which is great. But it sucks because you don't have to have anything good anymore. Like, the content there doesn't have to have any value for you to go viral or whatever. I think it sucks for someone like me. I've had to put in so much effort into videos and to get to where I am, and to like be put into this position where every second person can do like some dance, get their tits out, and they go viral. Whereas I had to put in so many hours. I'm not being resentful or anything, but I'm more so speaking about
honestly.
How it sucks how there's no such thing as talent no more.
No.
You know, with videos. Secondly, another point is what's a massive problem with TikTok is that as much as it's great, it's entertaining, it's providing others with a platform. You can get your message out a lot faster than having to do something crazy and big. But the attention span problem is a massive problem, because it doesn't just relate to videos and TikTok, it relates to everything in life. How many times have you been out with a friend and they can't be off their phone for more than 10 seconds? It's not just TikTok. It's everything in life. They can't focus. No one can focus anymore. You can't focus on the same thing for more than 20 seconds now. You can't have a conversation with your partner without getting distracted by your phone. You can't spend time with the kids without being distracted. Like, the way that our brains work has changed from it. And it's not a good thing. Of course, there's great things about TikTok. Like, I'm grateful for it being out there, giving me such a big platform, many things. But as we spoke about, there's always stuff that we need to improve on and really focus on. And once again, if governments cared about us, our health, they'll be doing something about this. They can see, especially with the generation that's upcoming, like your kids might be in, like, I can't even imagine what their attention span is going to be like in 20 years. Just, it's scary to think about.
Mate, it is scary. It's happened again gradually over time but like myself, if I want to watch some content, TikTok's the last place I would go to watch something, like really. Man, I had a TikTok, I was doing quite well. I think that's how you found me on there. And I made that video that got me in front of a magistrate, where I thought it was just a bit of fun, man, and it got me in a bit of trouble. But man, it's crazy how big my page got, and not only how big it got, but how quick it just within that video I put out where I was giving advice pretending that I was a police officer, that got like millions of views in a day.
Yeah,
nuts. Crazy. It's crazy. And I was like, what in the fuck? Well, I didn't know how to handle that.
Yeah.
I've always enjoyed making like funny videos and just sharing my opinion and thoughts on things, but I didn't know how to handle that. It was like, it's mind blowing. And then it's built from there. But what I noticed on TikTok, man, was that it's no talent in terms of what I was saying. And the biggest accounts, like I struggle, like sometimes I'll see a person comment on my post or whatever on Instagram and click on their page and it's 4 million followers, whatever it may be. And it's like, I'm like, well, I can't figure out what they actually do.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do they do? Like they take nice photos, I get it, but that can't be all they do. Like they couldn't have got them. But what is it? Like, are they a singer? What are they?
Yeah. And what I find a bit sus about TikTok is every single person, no matter who you are, you always, if you post 10 videos, one will always go viral, no matter what you do.
Yeah.
And it's smart on their behalf, whether it's legit or not, whether these followers are actual real followers or not, who knows? But social media is just such a dopamine hit. So I remember like when I first, went viral or whatever, and I remember the first time I ever got stopped in the street, people asking for photos. I remember when it first happened. It's nice, man. It's people appreciating your work. It's all positive vibes. And it feels good. It makes you happy. It makes you feel valued. It makes you all those good emotions. But it's funny what TikTok do is like, no matter who you are, you make an account. Doesn't matter what you do. You're like one of your first 10 will always go viral. So what that does is you don't expect it, and you're like, oh my god, like this video got 20K views. Oh my god, you start feeling all those positive emotions, which incentivizes you to keep making videos and stay on the platform. It's no secret. That's what I've seen.
Probably right.
And for me, I've been on all the platforms, but in 2019, TikTok, when they started to emerge, they were bought out by Musical.ly or something or whatever.
Yeah.
And so Musical.ly would change to TikTok, and they were trying to get established creators onto TikTok like myself. So they hit me up on Instagram. Hey, we'd love to have your content on TikTok. And I don't know if they said something about pushing it, but there were ways where my content could be pushed. I can't really speak about it, but yeah. And I just remember, bro, like I got 1 million followers in 8 weeks. Like it was nuts.
Oh shit.
and it was crazy. I was like, wow, this platform's booming, which it was, of course. There was obviously like more audience and users coming on, but I felt the same thing. I was like, wow, this is crazy. It's a good feeling, like your videos going crazy. And these were all my old videos, and just the way that they've manufactured the platform is so clever. And I can see why it's prevalent now. And also they localize things, which is another smart thing they've done. So it's not, you see someone in Finland, you feel alienated already because they're not from Australia. Whereas they tap into the relatability aspect. So a lot of content on your For You page will be from Sydney, Melbourne, wherever you are. And you might know this person. Oh, that's my friend's friend or whatever. And so that keeps you on there even more. So it's, bro, how they've done it is just so smart, so incredibly smart. But there's always a catch between the two, good and bad sides. Yeah,
and I feel like it won't be like the longevity of TikTok. Like in terms of from a creator's point of view, where if you have a few big videos and you blow up on TikTok, I feel like the longevity isn't there. Because look, you can make legitimate careers, man. Yes. I just don't feel like, because the value isn't there. The appreciation for what you do isn't there. When when I had that, so my TikTok account got suspended, and I still have no idea why. They didn't tell me; it just got removed. And what they do is with TikTok. So I tried logging in, and that's how I found out my account was removed. So I'll make another account. I wasn't going to post on it again, but just to people send me shit all the time on TikTok. So just to watch it and interact with, I thought I'd make another account. Bro, they know based on and they must, somebody do it to IP address. Because when I went to make another account, it's going, your account is suspended. But I was like signing up with a different email address, like everything different.
Wow.
Like your account is suspended or your account is permanently banned or whatever, permanently banned. I'm like, holy shit, these people know, like they obviously check. You can see your IP address. Man, that's nuts. Because I don't think other platforms do that.
No, you can just get a new account, different email, different number, no drama.
Yeah, but man, they're onto it. So they wouldn't let me, which is fine. It doesn't faze me. But yeah, man, I really feel like TikTok, if you came up to the sort of more traditional way and making longer form videos on YouTube, and man, so you've done your videos on YouTube, and then so you also put out music as well.
Yeah, man. I'm trying to dip my toes into a lot of things. Whatever I'm passionate about is go for. So I'm just following that, and just diversifying. I'm over pranks. I'm done with them. They've been great for me, but I want to do something better now. I want to do something that's got more value. I've got a lot to offer that no one's really seen. So yeah, man, that's my next direction. I'm increasing the quality of content, and I want my content to have a bit of a message behind it, a bit more substance, a bit more value. But as you said, man, like I'm fortunate to have had my come up in the traditional way, because I got a lot of people that I know on TikTok, and they've got millions of followers, but it doesn't correlate to how it did for me back then. And I've got some mates with some good content, but it's almost like TikTok is devalued content. You know what I mean? Like the value of your brand isn't as high up if you're just on TikTok, which sucks because a lot of people on TikTok have great content, but it's because of the other shit that's on there. Yeah. So for me, I'm running with all the platforms and all that, but I've taken a few months off to really find my next step, and I'm in Sydney to do some really good new content with a bit more value, a bit more meaning, and yeah, man, that's where I'm going from here.
Whereabouts in Sydney at the moment?
I'm from Chatswood, so I grew up in Chatswood, but I'm just staying in an Airbnb around the area.
Yeah. Just like family in Sydney?
Yeah. So I've got my mum here. I've got all my friends, a lot of my friends I grew up with here. My dad lives in China, so all that side's over there. But
well, your dad, man, he cracks me up.
He's a superstar.
Mate, he is a superstar. Mate, he gets just as much love, if not more, than you do.
Bro, more than me. You see me in the Philippines, man. Like in Southeast Asia, it's always like, hey, like love your videos, but where's your dad? Like, it's cute, man.
So that must be tough at the moment too, with him over there in China. Obviously, you can't see each other.
Yeah, man, I haven't seen him for 2 years. So obviously the fans haven't really got a lot of what they wanted, which is hard for me. But yeah, obviously I miss him. We speak a lot, and hopefully I can go back soon. In China, they've got a 2 week plus 7 days quarantine rule, so it's 3 weeks quarantine. It's nuts. Wow. Yeah,
man. From what I'm saying, obviously you'd know more with your father living there, but man, it's a bit rough over there at the moment. I know there's a lot of conflict. There's a lot of discussion around them taking over Taiwan.
Yeah,
that's a topic, and from my understanding, they've stepped up in terms of their communist regime over there is getting pretty tough.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. So my dad is an Australian citizen, and I don't actually know what he thinks. Regardless, he couldn't say anything because it's tough. And for me, I tend to stay away from that as well because I go there a lot. So I just keep my things to myself. Yeah. So I don't really I don't really know what's going on over there. It's just like all changes.
Yeah, and it's different worlds, man. And you know what the craziest thing that this pandemic has taught me is that you should never completely trust what you hear from the media here. So I'm sure there's definitely two sides to that story. There is everything else, but yeah, man, it's a shame because that was the one place I really wanted to go to. for a holiday,
Yeah.
man. It's incredible. Some of the sites are incredible. I'd love to go there, but at the moment, obviously, it's quite difficult. But man, I hope you and your old man can catch up soon. Hopefully, it's all over with sooner rather than later. But yeah, man. So also your boxing, man. So you're going to have which I was looking forward to watching that. You're going to have a fight in August.
Yeah, I was, but long story. I've had a few like health things in the past year. Yeah, it's been a bit of a rough year, but I'm getting through it, and I had to drop out, unfortunately. But it was lucky because when I dropped out, they had to postpone the fight twice. So I started training back in like June or something, or July, and it's eventuated to be in late December. So I'm fortunate that I pulled out because I didn't want to have to go through 6 months of training camp.
Yeah, it's a long time.
I was going to do 2 to 3 months, but the people that are still in it had to do 6 months. So I want to do it again probably next year when everything's a bit cleared up. So yeah.
What was it like? Have you boxed for a while, or was it something that you just thought, fuck, I'll give it a go?
I've never been in a fight in my entire life. So yeah, I just had an opportunity, and obviously the social media was quite big on boxing, and this tournament was going to be like a really big one in Australia. I was going to be the main event, which was exciting as well. And yeah, I was just going to do it. Just feels like a bucket list thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why.
It makes sense, man. It's it's a tough sport.
Yeah, very tough.
It's a tough sport, man. But you know what? Fuck not, man. If you can tick those goals off and do it, man, why not? But your health, I think I remember when you posted that announcement, man, and I said to you back then that your health always comes first.
Yeah.
And to make sure you look after it, bro, because without your health, man, you have nothing. And I really hope that people are since this pandemic started, I've seen my close circle of people around my family, my friends, etc., start taking their health more serious. And I hope everyone does and understand that your health is very valuable. It's extremely valuable.
Oh man, as you said, without it, what do you have? And I hope, yeah, people have been learning from this whole thing to really up everything, like health wise, and yeah, even mental health, as you worked in, you know all about that. Everything correlates, spiritual health, all that. So yeah,
mental health is copped. Like I've said, man, that when this is all over with, the toll that this has done to mental health will be much worse than what the virus has done. And it's a serious problem.
Absolutely. And you never hear about it from the media because that's not part of the narrative they want to put into you.
That's right. It's all kept quiet. But man, the suicide rates, the amount of young people checking into emergency departments, it's scary.
Yeah, it's bad.
And I wonder what's going to happen like in the future. Is this going to have any long-lasting impact on those kids? Who knows? I dare say it will.
Yeah, for sure. It sucks, man, but it's the way it is at the moment. We just got to figure it out when it comes.
That's it. Well, listen, man, I hope we'll probably try and catch up now that you're back in Sydney.
Definitely would love to. Yeah, I'm up here for the whole month, so let me know. Let me know when you're free if you have anything on, catch up. But yeah, man, that was fun today, bro. I really love talking about this stuff because I don't really get to talk about it much, and I hope that people that are listening to this kind of have a bit of a different perception of who I am as a person. I really want to go towards this path as well and really help and mature my brand and talk about relevant issues and help others. So I appreciate you being on, bro.
No, man, listen, it's an honor to have you on here because, mate, you've been right from the get-go, man. You've been very honest and upfront. Even if you didn't do it publicly, mate, you're always very upfront and honest with me, and we've had conversations. And mate, you're just you're a normal, genuine guy that's concerned about what's happening to his country, really.
Yeah.
And I think that's normal, man. Like the fact that people like yourself have to be quiet about that is crazy. In a democracy, it's ridiculous. But man, look, thanks for doing your part, man, because it means a lot. You know what? You're just another person, but ultimately, you're another person, but you've also got a massive platform. And Matt, you've got fans, obviously, who love you and admire what you do. Yeah, mate, it's good to see you getting out there and trying to spread the message.
I do what I can, man, just as you are. Like, we're all just normal people out here. We've got the same wants for this planet. We want to do good. We want to help others. We want to spread our message for good and positivity. So nothing new from how people should be living their lives. And hopefully those listening to this can be inspired by both of us really to help make a difference and help move the world to where we actually want it to go, rather than just being sucked into all this bullshit. So
yeah, man, it sucks, man. Like people don't get it that, man, I love these podcasts. I love talking to everyone, talking to new people, learning things. Ultimately, I don't want to be talking about this forever. I say to everyone, man, I'd love to, but it's, and I don't want to, I don't plan to. It just happens because it's consuming the world.
Yeah, absolutely, bro.
So, like, what else do you talk about? We obviously talked about a few more things, in which I do try my absolute best with every guest, but it's just eventually comes back to that because it's such a big thing, man. Like, this will be looked back on in the future as a huge moment in history.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And what side did you stand on is another question.
That's right. And mate, I don't care pro-vax, anti-vax. I couldn't give a fuck about. I don't care. Like, I don't care what you do, as long as you're happy with the decision you've made. That's man. That's good. But yeah, man, I just want to be on the right side of history and speak up. And man, it's my kids I think of, and not just my kids, but all the kids.
Yeah.
To speak up and do our part now, because if we don't speak up, mate, their future really depends on it.
It does, man. Absolutely. And you've got kids, and you've got so much more of a reason to be doing this because you experience it firsthand. So that's a great thing as well.
Yeah, man. But listen, man, we'll definitely try and catch up before the end of the year, and we'll jump on one of these again in the future, hopefully in better circumstances. But man, I appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. I'll share, man. I'll post Jamie's links to the description of this podcast, so it'll be out on all the major ones: Spotify, Apple Podcasts. There you go, man. Much more about it than I do, man. But I just put it on Acast and it pumps it out to everywhere. Yeah, man. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it.